Sebastian Maniscalco.
My wife and I went to go see Hamilton on Broadway.
It Ain't Right Tour 2024.
Oh my God, it is amazing. We saw it. Oh, it changed me it changed me. Now, as soon as I hear that, I'm like, I ain't gonna like this.
Sebastian Maniscalco, live on stage in Des Moines, Wells Fargo Arena, December 15th, 2024. Get tickets now at livenation.com. For more, visit sebastianlive.com.
Let's rodeo at the 𝗀̈ence World's Toughest Rodeo, January 10th and 11th at Wells Fargo Arena. It's rodeo and a whole lot more. Come early for autographs, pony rides, and more. See more action, the best entertainment, and be part of the fun. It's too great to wait. Get tickets now at HiVTix.com. It's wild, it's western, it's pro rodeo at the 𝗀̈ence World's Toughest Rodeo, January 10th and 11th.
Murph and Andy, proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Live and on demand across Iowa everywhere. From the Channel Seed Studios. This is Murph and Andy. Murph and Andy. Connected by Cellular Advantage.
Getting the holiday week started, it is Murph and Andy live on Iowa everywhere alongside Andy Fales. I'm Keith Murphy, and no AD again today. Andy, are these guys ever coming back from Vegas? Do we have the Hangover 4 going here? Where are these guys?
That's a lengthy trip to Vegas. That's an expensive trip to Vegas. Any trip to Vegas is expensive, even if somebody else is picking up a big part of the tab. If you're just there existing, just trying to eat, park, walk, get into places. I mean, it's there's no cheap trip to Vegas.
2 nights is good. 2 nights in Las Vegas. Jenny and I always feel like that's enough. 3, kind of stretching it out there a bit. But here's what's kind of puzzling to me. These guys are the kind of guys that will send you photos and texts beyond what you even want on a normal day. And I don't know about you, but I haven't been carpet bombed with a lot of presence there. I don't know if there's been an arrest or if they're
keeping something from you.
Yeah, they've dropped off.
They don't want you to see what they've been doing.
I think that could be it. I don't know. Aiden, do you have an update? I saw you with Ben Bruns on Cyclone Sunday yesterday. You were in Vegas, but now you're back.
Yeah, and to touch on Andy's point, I mean, I just existed in Vegas. I don't drink, I don't gamble, I don't do any of that. So, and I wasn't cheap still. So
you're a fine young man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
no
man.
drinking,
I mean,
no
just
gambling.
trying to get just anything to eat.
Yeah,
is an investment.
Yes, absolutely.
Aiden, what do you do in Las Vegas if you don't drink and gamble?
I watch everyone else drink and gamble.
And how is that?
Fine.
2 nights was
great
enough.
time. Yeah. Yes, I'm very much like fly in Friday, full day Saturday, fly out Sunday type of person when it comes to Vegas.
It is a people watching place. It's a fascinating
It's the best in
place.
the world for people watching.
It's pretty cool there. And it's good to have a friend who's responsible like you. So well done. Yeah. All right, sports and more straight ahead on Murph and Andy, including biggest Cyclone home football game ever. Hawkeyes go back to their roots, and the Drake Bulldogs may never lose. They may never lose, Andy. We're in the Channel Seed Studios, brought to you by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Right now, high or low since our last show.
Presented by Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
Wealth Charter Retirement and Tax. Simplifying wealth in
I'll go first. I'm going to go high today. I got my turkey over the weekend. I'm accumulating my accoutrements.
You go big bird?
No, it's a small bird. I have a number of. We're not having a big family Thanksgiving, and my wife and daughter don't like turkeys too much. They're like you. They don't like meat off the bone.
I like white meat carved up though.
But you don't want to ever see it coming off a bone, and that's
I don't want to Fred Flintstone it, but
you don't even want to see it like sliced off the bone and then served to you, because then you know it was a bone. Well, it all comes off a bone, at some point. But I like to have the the bones. I like the carcass. See, my wife doesn't even like that word, carcass.
You like that dark meat.
No, I like to carve the whole turkey and then take the carcass and like boil it, make stock, so you have awesome turkey and noodles later on. I like to just use that thing like the mom on A Christmas Story. I mean, everything. I eat for days after that, make it all kinds of different ways. But it gets me all excited. I took it out of the freezer last night. It's only about 11 pounds. I took it out of the freezer last night and put it in the fridge, which, if memory serves, it always takes longer to defrost a turkey than you think.
Does it?
Yes. You have to start. They'll be like, well, it's like 1 day per every 5 to 6 pounds. Nah, you got to give it more time than that. Plus, I like to brine it overnight before I actually cook it in the salt water there, so it gets like all infused with the flavor.
Jeez.
So I took it out last night. It's in the basement fridge, getting all ready to go.
This sounds like a lot of work that I don't do. I should give Jenny an extra hug today. That does sound like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It's a lot of planning ahead. There you go. Yeah, that 5 to 6 days or 1 to 2 days on the 12, 4 pounds. What is that? 4 to 12 pounds is 1 to 2 days. No, I'm promising you, if you do it, unless you do it like out in the open or something, which you're not supposed to do, it always takes me longer than that. So I want that thing to be all ready for the brine I'm going to put it in the brine on Thursday because we're not cooking it until Friday, until Black Friday.
I'm going high too here, and I'm going Saturday night, Liverpool Legends. Andy, you were right. We had fun. We really enjoyed the concert. 𝗺𝗏𝗰𝗋 is a fantastic, historic venue. It was so nice to be there. The Christmas decorations are up everywhere. The bar was open. Everybody was in a good mood. Yes, I was checking my phone quietly, constantly on the Iowa State game, and I had to wait till I got home to actually watch the whole Cyclone football game. But we went with Jenny's parents, and one of the things that was enjoyable for me is I was kind of on the young side at this full auditorium, because when you look at, like, I don't remember the Beatles. The Beatles are before my time for remembering them in the late 60s. Yeah,
you'd have been a little kid, yeah.
Yeah, I was born, but I'm not aware of the Beatles at that time. Like most people, I learned about their music later. But as you pointed out Friday, this band not only looked like the Beatles, they sounded like the Beatles, and they sounded fantastic. And they played a lot of old black and white footage of the actual Beatles. Everything sounded good, but most of all, and Jenny had a good time too, and most of all, we were both reminded about what a stunning catalog of work. As we were leaving 𝗺𝗏𝗰𝗋, and it seemed like everybody had a good time, the conversation you heard the most was, oh, they didn't play such and such. They didn't play that. And they played for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But that's how much music they created in less than 6 years. And a lot of it does not sound similar. There were 3 periods represented by 3 costume changes. So I did have a good time. You were right.
That's how they usually do those kind of things. They start, in the early 60s where they're all kind of clean cut, and by the time they're by the time they're finished at the end of it, they got the sitar out there, and
right.
It's real psychedelic and everything with Let It Be and Sgt. Pepper's and Revolver, that kind of stuff. But I mean, just finding a left-handed bassist who can sing and play well at the same time. I mean, that's a needle in a haystack. I think I can think of maybe 3 great left-handed basses or good left-handed basses in the world of rock and roll. I mean, it's just hardly ever has that happened, and Paul McCartney is certainly at the top of the list. But you have to have that. If you have a right-handed bassist with your Beatles cover band, everybody's going to walk out. They will not tolerate that. They're like, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney is left-handed. And so you got to have that to start out with. Then they have to, really kind of sound like him and kind of look like him, and I'll be very proficient. So it starts with a high bar, and then, like, those songs have been covered so many times and people know them so well that, I mean, you really have to play those songs well. And I think you got to give it a little something different, which I imagine they did. Did they put a little, was there a tiny little edge to these songs that made them sound like not quite the Beatles?
Just better sound quality, as you said, as instrumentation has been improved and sound improved, but it was very true to the originals. It was. And the Paul McCartney point, it did go through my mind many times because he looked so much like McCartney and he sounded so much like McCartney. I did think, did this guy have to learn to play left-handed, or did it just all come together for him? Because that seems unlikely to me. And he also did the only solo of the night, which was Yesterday, which is the most covered song in the history of music. More than 4,000 artists have covered Yesterday. That's
got to play that on guitar, I imagine. So he's lefty guitar. No, I would assume that he's naturally left-handed, but then he's got to play the piano also. We went to see the Simon & Garfunkel cover band at the Civic Center. I guess that was
I had to grow his hair out.
Yeah, they were phenomenal. But not only did Garfunkel have to be a tall, skinny guy with a white man's fro, but Paul Simon had to be short and like this incredible guitarist who fingerpicked everything. Because Paul Simon is one of the greatest guitarists on the planet, and he finger picks everything. He doesn't use any sort of pick.
That's why he's got those freakish serial killer
crazy
fingernails.
Nasty fingernails on his right hand. But yeah, he's so good. And this guy was phenomenal also. But again, you got to start with such a high bar.
Chris Williams is listening to this right now. Going,
he's like, who are these people they're talking about?
Simon & Garfunkel. Beatles? I think I've heard of the Beatles. They did the
McCartney.
Nike song. Didn't they do the Nike song?
You can interact with us on YouTube, email Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. On X, it's Murph_Andy. It's all powered by the Cellular Advantage. Cellular Advantage, authorized agent of U.S. Cellular since 1993, and now with 35 area stores. Had 32 when we started this podcast at Iowa Everywhere, now up to 35, and we are taking full credit for the additional 3 stores and the building empire at Cellular Advantage. Right now, let's get the buzz.
The Buzz. Brought to you by 𝗀liche Heating and Cooling.
All right, so Cyclones will have their biggest home football game ever. I think. I realize that's an opinion. I guess not a fact, but I think it is. The only other one in the conversation to me, Andy, is 4 years ago against West Virginia to get to the Big 12 championship game, but it was a COVID season. The season was shortened. Yeah. There were 14,000 fans in the stands because they do that ridiculous outdoor spacing and wear masks in a football stadium. I mean, it was just different. Not the fault of the players.
I haven't even heard that one compared yet. I mean, the one that I keep hearing is people going back to 2005, the Missouri game.
Yeah, that was to win the division championship.
That is not even in the conversation. I mean, that was divisions, and no one thought that Iowa State had a chance to actually win the Big 12 championship game. It was basically just deciding who from, was it the North, the Big 12 North then?
Right.
Who from the North was going to be the sacrificial lamb to go down and play and get their ass kicked by Oklahoma. I mean,
which is what happened to Missouri.
Yeah.
Or whoever it was that ended up going. It might not have been Missouri, but Iowa State lost that game.
Yeah, that was a time in Cyclone football history where everyone was very aware of where the ceiling was.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
And that even with your best game, it really wasn't going to matter beyond that. So I think this game does stand. 2004. 2004. Okay, is that what it was? Colorado.
Yeah, Oklahoma 11-0 beats Colorado 42-3.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that's a Gary Barnett team too. Those were good Colorado teams.
Different time.
that was an ass kicking. So and the stands were there weren't many people in the stands. I was there shooting that game. I remember it well. This is a different animal. It's a completely different age. It does feel though like there is a chance that there will not be a full stadium.
I don't think there will be a full stadium, and the weather does have a big part of that. This has always traditionally been a tough week for Iowa State and crowds when you have Thanksgiving week and the students are on break. So you have that going against you, and then you look at the weather, And we've seen it like this before, and we've seen it worse. But if you look at the second half, feels like wind chill temperatures, it's going to be around 0 to -1 or -2 in the second half. You got to really prepare for that, and you have to be highly motivated. It will feel better than that in the first half, but it kind of gets to a point where it feels like below 15 degrees, and it all starts to feel the same, just miserably cold. So you have to prepare for that. Andy, I know you're a guy that knows how to dress for that kind of weather, and Iowa State has a lot of fans who do too. So I do hope, I mean, this is what you wanted, right? This is everything a Cyclone fan wanted. Not only a chance to still win the Big 12 championship, but a chance to still go to the college football playoff. So, and a chance to win 10 games for the first time ever. That's 130 plus years of football. History can be made Saturday night on several fronts. So if you're a fan, you find a way to bundle up and go to this game and support the team. I think it'll be a lot better than that 2004 game. What's that, 20 years ago now? Mm-hmm. But I can't imagine this being completely sold out in this circumstance.
Yeah, and that's a reminder that a significant part of your crowd at those football games is there because they think of it as the big fun thing to do that weekend. Not because they are completely invested in the football season. And that's okay. I mean, every fan base has that portion of it, but that fan base, and I think Iowa's fan base too, I mean, we just don't have enough people in this state to have, 70,000 absolute diehard, any weather at all fans in Iowa City and 61,500 diehard, any weather at all fans in Ames. I mean, we don't have those kinds of numbers right now. And there's another thing when you are toward the end of the season and you've been to a bunch of games already that season, your interest in going back diminishes. I mean, it just does, right? I mean, there are the diehard fans, but there are the ones that you like to go to a few games a season. And this has been a really big season at Iowa State. So I would say most of the fans who've wanted to go to a game this year have probably gone to a game this year, or two, or maybe three. I know I've been to a bunch of them up there. And I have an opportunity to go to this game, and I don't want to go. I want to watch it at home. The other thing I'll say is that I did go to that game in Nebraska when Iowa had the perfect record on the line, and they wanted to just complete it with a win at Nebraska. And I went there. I drove over to Lincoln and went with a group of fans.
That's the Dave 𝗀𝗃𝗠sky fireball game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a full stadium. So hats off to Nebraska. They didn't have anything to play for that year other than beat Iowa. And that was a full stadium, and that is a giant stadium. And it was full of mostly Husker fans. A lot of Iowa fans came over too, but mostly Husker fans. So, but it was 25 degrees that day. And there was some wind also, but it was 25 degrees that day. And there are games played. I can remember being at games at Lambeau Field that were around 0. I mean, they were so cold. But the problem with a game that's 25 degrees is it leads you into this false sense of security where you think, okay, well, that's only a few degrees below freezing. I'll be okay. I don't have to dress like an Arctic explorer. Oh, yes, you do.
Yes,
you
do.
need to bring those options with you. You can always take off layers. The good thing about fans in this state is, well, really anywhere in the Midwest, most of us are only a couple of generations at most away from the farm. Many of us are still on the farm or one generation away. You know how to dress for outdoor chores on the farm, or shoveling snow, snowmobiling, ice fishing. We know how to do that stuff. You need to dress like that this coming Saturday. I mean, it may look ridiculous when you put it on at home, but you will not feel ridiculous when you get to the game. You will feel smart, coveralls are the greatest thing in the world. I didn't wear those to that game in Nebraska, and I'm still regretting it.
You need the adult diapers with those, but that's an option.
You probably could wear an adult diaper, or like put a little funnel in there with a hose that comes out the side. But yeah, and then if you got like the big 𝗙elle boots, again, those are for trappers and stuff. Wear those suckers or bring them with you. I mean, bring too many layers. It's better. Somebody around you will gladly accept your extra layers when you're in the stands or even tailgating. I mean, when you're standing outside in 20-something degree weather for hours on end, that is cold.
It's the lack of movement that'll get you too, because you can think in your mind, I know what 15, 20 degrees feels like. I walk from my car into work in that temperature all the time. This is different when you're standing there for hours on end, and the first half is going to feel better. The temperature starts to really drop. The feels like temperature will go below zero, it appears, in the second half. And the game in Ames Saturday night is going to be considerably colder than the game in Iowa City Friday night. When it comes to feels like temperature, that game's going to be in the high teens to low 20s for wind chill and feels like. But that game is sold out. The Iowa-Nebraska game is sold out. I don't think that's a surprise. But you made a good point earlier, Andy, because my wife Jenny is an alumna of Iowa State. We've been to some games this year, also in Iowa City, but we've been to games up at Iowa State. She wants to watch this game with family this weekend. She has no interest in going up there and being this cold. But she's not a big fan. Like the fans who are really into it will be there. Aiden Wyatt, you know a lot of Cyclone fans. What are you hearing as far as people showing up or compensating for the students being gone?
I haven't heard a ton, but yeah, the student thing, that's such a hard thing because, I mean, especially my family was big in Greek life, so I am familiar with this. I wasn't in it myself. But
you don't drink or gamble. Why would you get in Greek life?
Yeah. So it's like all the houses are closed for the week. So there's a lot of kids that don't really have a choice to be on campus, on top of people who just don't want to be there. So yeah, the student thing is going to be the biggest thing to get by. What they should do a couple years ago, I think it was TCU game in 21. They said it was so cold, everyone just bring in your own food, and people brought like Thanksgiving leftovers, and it was kind of just a giant party.
Yeah.
I think they should kind of lean into that a little bit, but I think it's going to be tough to get 61,000 people in there.
Would fans who bought tickets be upset if you just let anybody in? Just fill the place for TV in the moment? Or just find charities that want to come? Or I don't know.
If it's charities, you can't be mad at charities, but
no, you can't be mad at charities. But getting charities to, like, you're not going to get them to bring kids.
Yeah, right.
Like 2 days after Thanksgiving and sit in wind chill temperatures like this. I don't know. You want a full house, but whatever. It's going to be better than it was 20 years ago. That game Andy was at, I remember that well. Let's go back to Utah Saturday night here for a moment as ISU finds a way in what was college football chaos. 7 ranked teams lost this past Saturday, many of them in the almighty SEC. Boy, a lot of SEC teams just peed it right down their leg. Let's start with the rewind here as Iowa State goes to Higgins for a touchdown. Higgins goes over 1,000 yards in this game for the season.
Sama goes in motion. Rocco looks, a blitz coming. He fires a slant. Caught. Touchdown. Jaden Higgins. A beautiful throw under pressure by Rocco back to Jaden Higgins. Has his 8th touchdown reception of the season.
That's John Walters, courtesy of Learfield. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel are, it appears, both going to be 1,000-yard receivers for Iowa State in one season. That's remarkable. That's great. These guys are really good.
Yeah, Higgins had a really good game. Jalen Noel made a couple of plays, didn't make a couple of other plays, but yeah, I mean they are that's one of the better receiver duos that we can remember.
Iowa State dominates this game and should win comfortably, but the Cyclones can't get out of their own way.
Oh, and that pass is picked off. A takeaway by Lander Barton. And Barton is still moving. He's got some blockers. From behind, he's going to go all the way. It's a touchdown for the Utes. And Lander and Barton.
Pick six. That audio is courtesy of Fox Sports. And each time it looked like Iowa State would take control of the game, there's just a costly mistake.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to take control there. I mean, they had they had a rhythm going at that point. They're driving. Looks like they're going to go up 14-3 at that point, and then they could just kind of shift into overdrive. But that's a bad pass. It's behind Knoll. He tries to get a hand on it, ends up kind of helping it be intercepted by batting it up in the air like that. But yeah, you just saw that and you're like, oh God. Now, to compliment Iowa State, I mean, they did not break there, right? I mean,
right.
They kept it together.
We've seen Iowa State teams lose in this spot when it starts to go against the Cyclones, and that is the takeaway point here, is that good teams find a way to win when they have to, and they had to win this game. Carson Hansen scores a touchdown in the second quarter.
Everybody in tight. They pitch it to Hansen. Right side, head of steam. Stiff arm. Touchdown. Carson Hansen, 8-yard touchdown run and a beauty.
That's John Walters, courtesy of Learfield on the Cyclone Network. So Hansen scores, and then Rocco Becht also scores.
Burkle and Hansen lined up behind. Becht is under center. 4th and goal from the 1. Rocco sneaks it, gets pushed into the end zone by his tight end for a Cyclone touchdown. Steve O'Klotz said, you know what, Rocco, I'll push you in. And Rocco Becht, a 1-yard touchdown run.
The old tush push. You can hear the booing there at the.
Is that the play
Utah
after
Stadium.
was that the touchdown on the drive where they had the defensive holding call? Everybody was upset about.
Is that retroactive booing there, Aiden? That they're going like back to the call?
Let me figure it out.
At one point, they had that going on. So, I mean, they had a number of calls really go against them, Utah, and that fan base was not happy with the officials most of that night.
So now it seems like Iowa State's got this momentum back, controlling the game. Not so fast.
Let's win this game and send these guys out. There's a special teams play and a block punt. And the Utes, if they're on it, it's a touchdown. And it is!
Pick six, blocked punt for a touchdown. You don't usually survive these kind of mistakes at the other team's place. Somehow Iowa State does.
Well, I mean, Utah isn't a great team, but they were at home and inspired, and Iowa State just kept sending plays the other way at just the worst time, where it looked like they were, taking control again. But this is just a killer. I mean, block punt is so hard to get there in time to get a hand on the ball, much less get that lucky bounce where the ball just comes free and you can recover it or pick it up and run it in. I mean, you have to be good and lucky on those plays, and that was the case there.
Favorite call of the season coming up here by offensive coordinator Taylor Mouser. And Utah is starting to, it's 3rd and 1. Utah's stacking the box to stop Hansen, sure that Hansen's going to try to get that 1 yard. And talk about needing an extra seat on the airplane just for your balls on the flight home. This was a big-time gutsy call.
1st and goal from the 3. Becht under center back. 3rd down, 1.5 yards to go. Becht pitches it out. Hansen wants to throw it. He's got a man wide open. Burkle inside the 15, inside the 10, all the way to the 3-yard line. Carson Hansen finds Gabe Burkle, and his 1st and goal, Iowa State at the 3.
What a call, man! And he was wide open. So then you're just thinking, don't overthrow it, don't underthrow it too much. Just put enough under it so he can get down near the goal line. That's what he did. He played it safe.
Well, he's so open, and I don't know what kind of a quarterback Carson Hansen is. Evidently good enough, but he totally underthrows him. If he just throws a decent pass, it's an easy touchdown, but it ends up being good because it allows them to take a little more time off that clock. And that could have, I mean, you can imagine a scenario where that ends up being the difference in the game. The fact that they're able to tick off 10, 15 more seconds off the clock and kind of change the situation of the game at that point, because they get in anyway and Hansen gets the touchdown. But that is a great play. We've seen some pretty fun razzle-dazzle plays out of Mauser's book this year.
It's been fun, and then Hansen does finish the drive.
First and goal from the 3. Becht pitches it to Hansen, right side run, and a touchdown! Carson Hansen with his second rushing touchdown of the game. He took it in from 3 yards out.
There it is. So Iowa State goes on to win this game, but let's do the final play here. Aiden, call on you one more time for Cyclone Research. What is the background of the Utah kicker and his connection to Iowa State?
So I believe he had committed to Iowa State in 2021.
Okay.
And then last second flipped to Colorado. I don't know what happened after that, but obviously ended up at Utah.
So he ends up at Utah. Okay, that's why anybody who wants to know why we don't get all excited about commitments, it's just, let me see him in a uniform playing a game these days. A commitment, they can change their mind, go anywhere they want. So Utah can tie the game, send this to overtime.
Snap's good, so's the hold. Kick on the way by Becker. And it is no good! No good! Becker missed it! And with 8 seconds to go, Iowa State is going to be able to take a knee and get out of here with a victory over Utah. Oh, man. My goodness.
This
He
was
wanted to be like, holy shit, am I worn out after this game?
This was a blood pressure game for Cyclone fans. And they put the fans through it, did not make it easy on the fans, but won this game. It would have been a meltdown had Iowa State lost this game with everything that was at stake. Here's Matt Campbell and Rocco Becht after the game.
Everybody counted us out, I think, 2 weeks ago. We didn't flinch, we didn't waver, and we just keep fighting. And so we'll be defined by who we are at the end of the football season, and we got 4 more quarters to help define that. So we look forward to the opportunity.
We remember our past, we remember our history, and we didn't like losing those 2 games. And so we use that as momentum for these last couple of weeks, and using it for this last week is going to be, tremendous for us. So continuing to learn our history and remember it, I think it's going to help us in the future.
Well, there it is. Yeah, they find a way to win. And it did seem improbable that Iowa State could get into this position, not just because Iowa State had to win, but because other teams had to lose, and that happened. As Deion Sanders put it for Colorado, he said, quote, "We controlled our own destiny and we fumbled it away."
Yeah. Let me just go back to that kick for a second. I don't know about you guys, but, I mean, after watching kicking lately, especially the Iowa game earlier in the day, I mean, I just feel like kickers, even at the college level now, are so good. I thought he would hit that field goal. I really did. I was really surprised that he missed that field goal.
Field goals are starting to get like extra points.
Oh yeah. I mean, even 50+ yard field goals. So what was that one? 54, 54 yards. Yeah. I thought he would hit that. I think he had the distance. It was just wide right. But I was really surprised. I mean, I had already like moved on in my brain to overtime, and I felt like the Cyclones were going to win it in overtime. But the fact that I was like, he missed that kick. And yeah, I mean, Iowa State was clearly the better team in that game. They did not play as well as they need to play. And I felt I had major deja vu there toward the end of the Texas Tech game, where you had, every unit on the team had its chance to win the game. And it just seemed like they all gave it away. And somehow in the end, though, they got the drive that they needed for the touchdown. They played just good enough defense to make that a really long kick. There were some kind of puzzling calls there by Utah toward the end, and I know the fans were a little annoyed at that, but I mean, whatever. He makes the kick. We all feel maybe totally differently right now, but he didn't. He missed the kick, and Iowa State is in this position now.
We clearly didn't know the Big 12 before the season because Utah and Oklahoma State were the picks to win the Big 12 conference. They're at the bottom of the Big 12 conference. Arizona State was picked for last place. Arizona State and Iowa State are in the best position to reach the Big 12 championship game. We thought for a moment that Arizona State and Iowa State control their own destiny. That's not quite right. And there are smart reporters who put that out there because it's so complicated. Finally, Sunday afternoon, the Big 12 puts out this tiebreakers update, and it's kind of a mess. The takeaway from this, Andy, is if there's a four-way tie, BYU, Colorado, Arizona State, Iowa State, if they all win and it's a four-way tie, it's going to be Iowa State and Arizona State in Dallas at Jerry World. The three-way tie also favors Arizona State and Iowa State if they both win. But there is a scenario for both of them where they could win and not get to the Big 12 championship game, albeit an unlikely scenario. And BYU doesn't even kick off until 9:15 Central Time. Yeah. So there's a chance we don't know who's in the championship game until 12:30 in the morning, Sunday morning, after the Saturday night BYU game.
Well, that's just what you're going to get by having a conference that spans, from Florida to Arizona. Now, I mean, that's just nuts. And some of these things we're just going to have to, suck up and deal with. But I mean, we ad nauseum, we've gone over and over in this. I mean, the conferences are too big. They've got to figure out some sort of geographical boxes or something for these conferences so they can divide them up and make them interesting and competitive and still somehow protect regional rivalries and all these things that weren't a problem before we started making these mega conferences. It is amazing. I mean, we all knew that this was going to come full circle and we were going to ultimately wish that we were back in the old system where it was based on regional historic rivalries. But right now, I mean, we're like stuck in this like half cheer look around to see if it's okay before you let out any sound.
It's like instant replay after a touchdown. It's like, I think I just saw a touchdown.
It is like that. It is like that.
But I have to wait to make sure it's confirmed. Okay, now I can
check. Let me go check the math.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So fun.
Arizona State did hang on, 21-0 lead over BYU at home in Tempe. And Arizona State runs some of the most ill-conceived clock melting plays of all time. They just have the quarterback run backwards a couple of different times, thinking that they'll run the clock out and the game will be over. That's what the fans at the stadium think. And tens of thousands storm the field, actually cover the entire field. But there's 1 second still on the clock. And Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham, who's 34 years old and just passionate, he finds out about this while he's on the field, that there's 1 second and they need to clear the field and let BYU run one more play. And Dillingham is not very happy about it.
You tell it, coach. You tell it, coach. You tell it. You tell it, coach.
You can't really hear him there, but he is losing his mind that he has to get these fans off the field. My son was one of them.
Well, he's yelling at the fans to get off the field, too.
Yeah, and eventually they do get all these fans off the field. BYU throws up a Hail Mary that just comes a yard or two short, and then the fans storm the field again. So what a moment there for Arizona State. Iowa State, Arizona State is the most likely matchup in Dallas, but I think by now with Iowa State going against Kansas State, Farmageddon in Ames, you also have Arizona State playing arch rival Arizona at Arizona's place, so that doesn't seem like a lock. Bottom line, we don't know what's going to happen this weekend. We have a quickie poll. It is presented by WCI Pools and Spas, and the quickie poll is, of these choices, what's the best answer for fixing conference tiebreaker confusion? We remind you, Oregon in the Big Ten didn't learn until Tuesday it had already clinched a spot in the conference championship because the Big Ten apparently can't figure out its own tiebreakers. You need like a calculus degree to even try to figure some of this crap out. So of these scenarios, Andy, would you like to go back to divisions, maybe make them a little more balanced, have more conference games, because only playing 8 conference games with a 12-game season, a couple of the games are very little interest, like Alabama played Mercer a week or two ago. It's just stupid. No conference championship games. We heard Lane Kiffin say some of the coaches don't want to go to these conference championship games because you could knock yourself out of the college football playoff. Or is it, as Chris Hassel has suggested on Two Guys here on Iowa Everywhere, flex scheduling, where we remind you right now, Iowa State is tied for first and hasn't played any of the 3 teams it's tied with and won't. Colorado, BYU, Arizona State, Iowa State played none of those teams in this regular season, and they're tied for first place. That's stupid.
Well, I mean, flex scheduling is, I feel like that's the pie in the sky solution here. I don't think there's any way that that's not also the most complicated one. I mean, when you're having to change all this stuff around at the last minute, or
logistical problems.
Even a week out is still logistically that they can do it. I mean,
because they'll do it for the playoff.
Oh yeah, I mean they do it for the playoffs. They can do it. That seems like it also just kind of seems like it makes too much sense for them to do it at this point. Oh well, why take the easy way out? The divisions, I don't see that working. I see that bringing just another host of problems. More conference games is my answer here. I mean, the fans want that. The problem is that all of these conferences there's no governing body anymore. All of these conferences have to be on the same page, and they all have to feel like, yes, we agree that is the best idea. We will all stop playing patsies and out of conference games. And then, this doesn't just mean that it's going to be the games against you and I that are going to be in jeopardy. It'll be the games like Iowa State that are in jeopardy, and Oklahoma State.
Yep.
I mean, those games will be in jeopardy also. And so I worry about that scenario here in this state, and losing a few more games that actually matter to the fans and the schools who would like to get rid of those games, just using that as a convenient excuse. Can't you see that happening? Well, we aren't allowed. We have to just do all these conference games now, so we got to get rid of games like Iowa State.
They already got rid of Oklahoma State, so we know it can happen. I think the next move will be to 9 games. They'll go to 9 games, but they should go to 10 games. And it seems like with the way we're seeing this play out, these conference championship games, I realize they're a payday and they're a money grab, so they're probably not going away. But maybe they should. You shouldn't play your way out of college football playoff contention for reaching your championship game and then getting passed by a team that didn't get to the championship game. But it's happened before, even in the BCS, even in the 14 playoff, it could probably happen again.
In the same breath, though, I don't think you should make it to the conference championship game when you haven't played the other next best teams in the conference.
I know. I already missed the 10-team Big 12. That was fun to play every team in the conference every year. Played 9 games, the Big 12 did, and all 10 teams played the other 9 teams. So you knew who the best team in the conference was. That's a sacrifice of these mega conferences and money driving everything. Iowa goes to Maryland after a really strange week of drama and conflict and mixed messaging. There were players who didn't make the trip, but Iowa just went back to its roots and ran the football down the Terps' throat.
Johnson had lined up wide left. He's back in the backfield. He's going to run straight forward. Goal line. Touchdown. Touchdown, Iowa. Touchdown, Caleb Johnson. No flags. And the Hawks are up 9-0 pending the point after try.
Gary Dolphin, courtesy of Learfield. This is just old-fashioned Hawkeye football right here. Just run it with your great should be All-American back Caleb Johnson, who was spectacular again, 21 touchdowns on the season.
Yeah, and it's one of those games where the fans are just like, why didn't we do this last week? Why haven't we done this all the time? And all those games we lost, why didn't we just play? Well, that's Maryland you're playing there, but still, it was just good to see what looked like from very early on a classic Kirk Ferentz, Phil Parker Hawkeye football game with dominant defense, good, strong run game, and a quarterback who is far better than average.
He was efficient too.
Yeah.
No turnovers. Wasn't asked to do much, but didn't do the things like Deacon Hill did. Fumble, get sacked a lot, throw an interception. Jackson Stratton played a good game. Kamari Moulton fumbled in an exchange with Jackson Stratton early in the game, but didn't find himself on the bench permanently and paid for that faith with a touchdown that clinched it for the Hawkeyes.
Hawkeyes with a tight formation. They're going to keep the ball on the ground. Kamari.
Come on, Kamari. Come on.
See you later. See you later. Touchdown, Iowa. And he's only at the 30 of Maryland. Kamari Moulton breaks through a gigantic hole off the left guard and center area. That's Bo Stevens' neighborhood. And what a big, big score for the Hawkeyes with 9 minutes and change to go.
Pretty good dancer, too. That audio is courtesy of Learfield. It's Gary Dolphin, also Pat Anger on the Hawkeye Network. And the defense for the Hawkeyes played better at Maryland.
I'm watching this game with one thing in mind. How do they look 1 week away from Nebraska? Do they look like a team do they look like they are headed back toward their best selves? And I thought that they did. I mean, I did. I mean, did this look like a team that could beat Nebraska? Nebraska played a lot better. They beat a Wisconsin team. It's not very good. Nebraska's not very good either. But I mean, they're going to be up for the Iowa game. And I was watching that game thinking, okay, is Caleb Johnson back to his old self? Looks like it. Is Jackson Stratton, Bolton, and Hay looking like a pretty good quarterback? I'm gonna call him the Firm. From here on out, that's my nickname for him.
Jackson Stratton.
Jackson's, yeah. It sounds like a law firm. Jackson Stratton, Bolton, and Hay. But anyway, the lines play well. It's just more of a classic defense. I know it's that's a game against Maryland, but still, it just looked like, okay, these Hawkeyes don't look lost. It doesn't look like they're trying to, be some different type of team that, Kirk Ferentz doesn't typically coach. It looks like more like a classic Iowa team. I felt good about it.
The defense created turnovers as well.
Slot receiver goes in motion. Morris looking that way. Now he lobs a fade pattern to the sideline, and it is intercepted. A jump ball picked off by T.J. Hall in there for Jamari Harris today. And the young man from Fresno comes up with a big steal. Out of the gun, here's Morris. He survives the interception, but going to have to keep throwing. Oh, and he's drilled, picked off by Higgins. He is drilled as he let the ball go, and it's Mad Max. Max Llewellyn with the crushing hit.
Out of Urbandale, pride of Urbandale, Max Llewellyn. Those highlights, if you're watching on YouTube, and for all of you who are, thank you for doing that. More people are all the time. Appreciate the thumbs up or the likes. It helps us out. Here's head coach Kirk Ferentz after the decisive win over Maryland.
I don't have that, but I bet Kirk Ferentz had some great things to say.
He was proud. He thought they played well. He is encouraged. Never doubted anybody, and it was a good team win. Iowa, Nebraska, Friday night on WHO 13. So that will be a national game on Black Friday, 6:30 kick. So some additional hot topics here. Andy's been looking forward to this one. Drake basketball, the men's basketball team, 6-0 on the season. 3 wins at the Charleston Classic, all as underdogs, all by double digits, and held the 3 opponents to season lows. So playing defense, playing offense, got this team that was 4 of the 5 starters were at Division II Northwest Missouri State last year. Got this coach that is showing why he won 4 national championships. at Northwest Missouri State. This is the best story of the young college basketball season right now and getting a lot of national attention.
Not going to get any argument from me there. I just think the funniest thing is I watch these guys and I don't know who they are. I don't know who's good at what. I don't recognize any numbers, any faces, the backs of any jerseys. I don't know. I mean, I'm rooting for the uniform at this point, but I mean, how do you not love this idea? I mean, the entire team left. Just blew out the roster like we've never seen a roster get blown out before for one of our local teams. And Brian Harden, there's just nothing else he can do. I mean, he's done everything that he could to keep Darren DeVries here as long as he did. It was impressive that he kept him here this long, but loses the best player in the conference, loses all of these up-and-coming excellent players who are probably going to be some of the best to ever play at Drake, and they're gone too. And then he just has to just totally wipe the slate clean and start over again. And you know, I think on paper, this looked like, you know, just like a hire that anybody would make. Like you're just trying to fill something. You're looking at you're a Missouri Valley school in a time where it ain't easy to be a Missouri Valley school. The only ponds that you can really fish out of are the ones where coaches feel like Division I is a big step up for them. So he goes to, I don't know, one of the closest Division II schools to Des Moines and gets their coach. I mean, you're just like, it looks like somebody could have made that decision with a blindfold on. But in reality, Ben McCollum has, as we know, a bunch of Iowa ties. He is a guy that has a lot of respect at that level and does seem like he runs the type of systems that could succeed in the Missouri Valley Conference. And Brian Harden is considering all that kind of stuff. He is a guy, and I'm sure Brian had to consider this too, he's a guy that could fill that roster. Because, I mean, how many coaches ever had to do that before? Like, not only are you taking over a new team and getting to know a new campus and moving your family, but you got to fill out the whole damn roster too. I mean, that almost feels like it's a, you know, Marine Corps boot camp obstacle course or something, like it's cruel and unusual punishment. But he's got to consider that, and that's what Ben McCollum does. And even that looks like some sort of a stopgap, doesn't it? It looks like, okay, guys, fans, just want to let you know, everybody give Ben McCollum a break this year. He just had to fill the roster. He didn't have, nobody wanted to take these spots up. You know, he couldn't get anybody. He didn't have any money anymore. He just had to get whoever he could. So he brought his
in that mindset for sure.
Oh yeah, we all were. But you're going to bring a bunch of D2 guys to come up and just warm bodies for a year. Just be patient. Well, man, I mean, we all now look like either we totally shortchanged Brian Harden or shortchanged Ben McCollum or shortchanged the players, or we did all three. And that maybe we should just take a step back and wait and see until we, you know, throw a judgment down on a brand new group of guys.
I don't see this being a short-term thing either. You watch them play, and they're so well coached. The sets work. Everybody's where they're supposed to be. The spacing works. They play defense. They get after. They're blocking shots like crazy. This looks like a good basketball team that's going to be a Missouri Valley Conference championship contender. Who would have thought? Iowa State, Auburn tonight, 8 p.m., huge Maui game. Invitational. That is a top 5 matchup. By the way, I should go back. Drake got like 24. How many votes? Drake got 29 votes in the AP Top 25 poll this week. So Drake gets top 25 votes. The betting you could have got whether Drake would at any point this season get 29 votes at the top 25 poll would have been off the Vegas boards at Circa and everywhere else. But they got votes. Iowa State and Auburn is a 4-5 matchup. Auburn is favored. That game is coming up tonight. That'll be something fun to watch. The Iowa State women hang on to beat Drake at the buzzer. Audie Crooks had 33 points in this game. She hit the game winner on a pass from Addie Brown. She's a mismatch down low. Drake couldn't stop that basket from happening. But Katie Dinnebeer, for the second straight Sunday, did everything she possibly could to keep the Bulldogs in it. She had 39 points against Iowa State. She had 40 points against the Hawkeyes a week ago. She has been spectacular out of Waukee High School. And, of course, Audie Crooks is also from a Central Iowa high school. Bishop Garrigan. 4 women's teams, as you and I reminded us with the upset over Iowa State. Iowa State plunged to 15 in the AP poll this week. But all 4 programs are really good at women's basketball.
Yeah, and another reminder to us all of how much better it is when we can see these in-state rivals play each other.
Yes.
This is just the way that it's supposed to be. And, you know, I'm sure that the Iowa State fans were all wringing their hands after losing to UNI, which that's not a game that they should have lost. But you heard Bill Fendley get up there and just say, no, we should be playing these games. This is what you get. This is a quality matchup that matters to a lot of fans in your state early on in the season against, you know, instead of playing these, you know, no-name patsies that you have to Google search. These are great games. And, you know, and it's another reminder, as he also pointed out, of why Iowa State men don't play these games, because you do run this risk of losing these games. And, you know, this Darren DeVries' Drake teams would have won a bunch of those games. They might have beaten Iowa 4 years in a row if they had played Iowa. But when you don't play them, you don't have to worry about that kind of thing. And I guess your life is a little easier, but what a shame for the fans.
Bill Fendley also realizes it's how you get better. You lose that game against UNI, and you're better prepared to win a close game against Drake.
And it's better to lose that game early on in the season. Sure. Where you get that lesson early than, you know, do that later on.
Iowa women are 6-0, finally ranked at number 22. This is kind of an overdue ranking. It doesn't really matter, the AP top 25 rankings, but it is a point of pride, and it's something people discuss. But the Hawkeyes should have been ranked, and any other team coming out of the past 2 national championship games with the returning players and the transfer Lucy Olson and the freshman that Iowa has would be ranked. But Iowa doesn't have that blue blood brand cachet that some of the other programs have. But they're there now. They should be in the top 25. Jan Jensen has yet to lose a game as a head coach, and the Hawkeyes look like a potential Big Ten contender again. Cyhawk wrestling, 20 straight for Iowa. 20 straight. That is not good for the Cyhawk wrestling buzz when one team dominates for that long. And Iowa State, as we know, has a good wrestling program, and Kevin Dresser's a good coach, and he really wants to end this streak. But 20 in a row and sold out. It was sold out, but it's 6:30 p.m. on a college football night on BTN.
Doesn't matter to anybody in that building.
It doesn't matter to anybody in that building, but it got buried underneath all this other talk.
You want to hear something worse than 20 straight?
I do.
I believe it's 50 of the last 52 for Iowa.
That doesn't seem possible when you consider Iowa State's wrestling history. Oh, Kevin Dresser in his postgame said a couple of things that kind of hinted at Iowa having quite an advantage these days with fundraising and NIL money and transfers coming in, and that is the reality of it. But he's going to have to find a way to get it done at Iowa State. Final note here before we move along. How about Saquon Barkley last night with 255 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, 302 total yards?
Yeah, I heard Chris talking today, but kind of about the resurgence of the running back, and I love that. I hope that's true. I mean, that will always be my favorite position on the football field. And, you know, we grew up in an era where the running back was the big star, and you knew the teams, you knew their helmets, and you knew their starting running back.
I enjoyed, some people didn't, but I really enjoyed the Hard Knocks offseason that was about the draft and the general manager decisions. And I couldn't believe how much access the Giants provided. And the main thread running through all of it was, are we really going to let Saquon Barkley leave? And the owner, the president of the Giants, one of the Maras, he does not want Barkley to leave. And he keeps saying, like, we've got to find a way. I want him to retire as a Giant. And things go along, and it ends up, of course, that he leaves, and not only leaves the Giants, but goes to the division rival Eagles, and Mara is beside himself. I can't even imagine what he's like now. I know the fans think, how did the Giants let this happen?
Well, we had moved into this all-new school of thought, and this wasn't shoved down our throats. It's just the way that football naturally evolved.
Tread on the tire.
A pass-first offense where you need a great quarterback and 2 bookend tackles and a bunch of receivers and a great tight end, and whoever you had at running back is just gravy. We had moved into that completely, and there was a reason to believe that they were right because teams were winning. I mean, what difference did it make who the Patriots starting running back ever was? It never mattered at all. What difference does it make who the Chiefs starting running back is? It hasn't mattered. So there weren't a bunch of examples out of there about why we shouldn't go that way. And it's absolutely true that the shelf life of an NFL running back is really short. These guys are great one season, and the very next year they're over the hill, and you just never really know where that hill is going to hit. And so you always want to try to sell high or get out before you commit to some long-term contract with these guys that are on the downhill side of their career.
Confluence is the official beer of Murph and Andy. Hope you had a Confluence beer this weekend. I did. I had one at Legends of Liverpool. So Confluence, thank you for being with us all this time. And now, without further ado, let's get some more.
But wait, there's more from Either Or Eatery and Patio.
Yeah, they sell some Confluence, I imagine. I went to Either Or on Saturday night.
What'd you do? What'd you eat?
Went to the new holiday pop-up there. The
Sparkle?
It's called Tinsel.
Tinsel.
Really
Not Sparkle.
close, yeah.
Tinsel,
it's all decorated. It's really, really cool. They got a bunch of new drinks. I had a fireside old-fashioned. Kahala had a couple Christmas teenies. Our friends had we tried stuff, passed it all around. It was amazing. I had the pot roast sandwich. It's new on the menu for this Tinsel pop-up. You need to check it out. It's beautiful in there. The Des Moines International Airport is expecting some 6,000 passengers through the terminal on Wednesday alone of this week. And that would be a new record. They're expecting like 30,000 passengers through the Thanksgiving Day week, kind of holiday week here. And a reminder, this all comes at a time where there is construction everywhere around the airport. It's kind of a mess. The entrance, there's just the one entrance now. It's farther south on floor, and I think they've got a full lane blocked off in that entrance as they work on the parking garage there, or the new parking garage and the terminal. So get there extra early, bring your patience, have a plan, make sure whoever you're picking up understands that you might not be able to roll right up there. It's going to be chaos. From the WHO 13 newsroom, we bring you this. A Newton man is facing a slew of charges after police say he tried to flee from officers and instead hit several vehicles in a Walmart parking lot. He then allegedly led police on a chase that ended with 2 more patrol vehicles sustaining damage. Looks like this man, Aaron Scalabrini, may have sustained a little damage himself here. He's 54 years old. He was arrested after the incident on Tuesday. Everybody want to check him out?
Yeah, if you are watching this right now through YouTube on various platforms, this is the local mugshot Hall of Fame right here, I think.
I think so.
Do you
that is the face of a guy that's thinking, like, rethinking some life decisions here?
Yeah.
He's like,
I'd like that one back. Yeah.
I should have pulled over in the Walmart parking lot. I should have just
that through.
I should have just let it go at that point. Moved on, cut my losses, and ended it. An emperor penguin named Gus is on his way back to Antarctica. Wildlife officials.
How did he get back?
Well, wildlife officials in Australia named him after the Roman Emperor Caesar Augustus. when he showed up on a beach on the southern coast of Australia as the only known member of his species to ever make the 2,200-mile swim from Antarctica.
Wow, what a stud.
Sometimes penguins will range like 1,000 miles out. This is more than twice that, obviously. Now, it took a lot out of him. He was very malnourished. Wildlife officials took him in, gave him plenty to eat, let him rest up. He gained 14 pounds.
Wow. I'm going to gain 14 pounds Thursday.
Yeah, they just let him pig out on fish. But emperors are very social birds, and Gus was clearly very lonely. He apparently spent much of his time in front of a mirror.
Aww.
I know, it's kind of sad. But with the hot Australian summer approaching, remember that's the southern hemisphere, officials decided that he should be able to return home, so they gave him a ride well out to sea, pointed him south, and you see him here just letting him go.
Aww.
And he took off, headed back toward Antarctica.
He probably wanted to stay with his new friends.
We didn't have any new friends. We just had a bunch of people.
Well,
there were no
people
other
are friends.
They were friendly.
Nice people.
They were friendly to him. But you've seen those. You saw that. Did you see that March of the Penguins documentary that Morgan Freeman did? It was great.
Gus needed to head south.
But there's like tens of thousands of penguins in those. They like a lot of company. From the files of It Sounds True, so it must be true, we bring you this.
I'm not sure that is true.
Well, that's
where the
file
is,
that this
it's a file
that this came from. In the world of plumbers, the day after Thanksgiving is not known as Black Friday; it's known as Brown Friday. It is the busiest day. No, it's funny, but it is the busiest day of the year for plumbers on average. Yelp data revealed that searches for emergency plumbing surged 65% during the 2023 Brown Friday time period when comparing searches from the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving Day to those on Thanksgiving Day and the 2 weeks after in 2023. Searches for 24-hour plumbers were higher on Thanksgiving Day than on any other day last year. So go ahead and put that plunger in the bathroom now and give them get a good plunger,
right?
Like the ones with the flange that kind of comes down, not just the cup, but the flange too. One of the best life skills I ever learned was in college. A guy in my house his dad was a plumber, and he would work for his dad. That was like his off-season job. And he taught me how to really use a plunger well, like in a sink or a toilet, like really do it well. I mean, you got to get it in there and start drawing the water back and forth, You got to, and it's really got to make that slurping sound where you're just sucking water back and forth. It's like it's a very distinctive sound. And you could do that with the sink too. And man, I mean, you can unclog a sink like a clog that's way down in the pipe just by some good plunging action.
Wow, you're really proud of the skill you learned.
It's come in handy a million times.
Yeah, okay.
The top 5 fast food restaurants where men take women on a first date when they're being a cheap ass. This is where they go. Chick-fil-A is first.
I had no doubt that Chick-fil-A was going to be my
Makes
place.
sense, yeah.
Right.
Dairy Queen is second, and I'm going to guess that's for dessert.
Yeah, ice cream, treat.
Because if you take them
Miss
out
Romantic, I'm taking you for ice cream.
Yeah, you're not taking
Dairy
them to
Queen.
dinner at Dairy Queen, right?
I don't think so.
Let's have the onion ring platter and a milkshake. Sonic is third, which I like Sonic, but it's kind of a hassle, isn't it? I mean,
I would not consider it a date place.
No.
Chick-fil-A,
unless you want to stay in the car.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A is either or compared to Sonic.
Pizza Hut is fourth, which I definitely don't understand that one. In Citrus County, Florida, a man named John Christian might be the luckiest person on earth this year. He is a tree trimmer. He was on a lift 100 feet in the air when he disturbed a nest of bees. See him up there? Ooh. That's where he was, in this big cherry picker. Christian has a bee sting allergy, and he feared for his life after the bees swarmed him and began stinging him. Well, of course, he's then freaking out, and he falls off the lift.
Ooh.
Hit part of the roof there on the way down.
Up there.
Yeah, way up there. Hit part of the roof, and then bounced off and hit the ground. walked away with 0 broken bones, and even though he'd been stung more than 30 times and has a bee sting allergy, he seemed fine.
This guy has like rubber bones or something. I don't understand.
This
how
guy
he
should be
wasn't more seriously
so
injured.
totally dead right now.
Yeah, he could have died, or at minimum, he seems like he should be in traction.
All right, to finish it off, I would like to welcome to the new, improved Murph and Andy show an old favorite, Who's the Asshole?
Oh,
mm-hmm.
Glad to have this back. This is a big hit. We probably are going to.
I feel bad Andrew's not here.
Listeners.
He loves this
I know.
game.
But we don't hear from Andrew anymore.
Yeah.
Aiden's our guy.
Okay.
Aiden's our man.
Aiden, you know how to play Who's the Asshole?
I don't, but I feel like I can catch on pretty easily based off the title.
You're smart enough. He's got a college degree.
Deductive reasoning. He's like, I think I've got this.
Have you ever heard anybody play Who's the Asshole?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. He's familiar. Here we go. I'm going to read this letter here. We hosted Thanksgiving last year. My brother has 2 daughters who go through boyfriends like they're changing socks. And most of these guys look like the kind of hoodlums mall security guards begin following the moment they walk in the door. The girls and their boyfriends typically just sit around and don't speak to anyone, step outside to vape, and generally add nothing to the atmosphere. We're tight on space as it is. I'm sorry. We're tight on space as it is. So last year, I asked my brother to please tell his daughters to come solo. I said we'd keep it to family only. I said it applied to our kids and their boyfriends/girlfriends too, and everyone seemed to understand and even appreciate it. Well, then my daughter's boyfriend from college made a special trip into town to surprise her, and he joined us after dinner.
Ooh.
I didn't think anything of it because it was after dinner and it's our house, but my brother and nieces were visibly annoyed. He confronted me about it, and we got into a heated argument. He called me a hypocrite and a shitty hostess. I apologized and told him I had no idea my daughter's boyfriend was planning on stopping by, and pointed out that they were in a much more serious relationship than his daughters, but he said that didn't matter. I'd made a rule and then let my kids break it. It's caused a year-long rift in our family, but I still don't think I'm in the wrong here. Who's the asshole? The hostess, her brother, the nieces, or the daughter who let the boyfriend come and join the boyfriend-free Thanksgiving?
Does the daughter know that it's supposed to be a boyfriend-free weekend? She probably does.
I believe so, yes. I believe that was made clear in the family.
It's hard to label her the a-hole, but that definitely is what put all of this, because I completely get not letting the boyfriends, the vaping security guard follows around the place boyfriends that are going to be changed by next Thanksgiving anyway. You get that. I understand that. But you make that rule and then you do let one of the boyfriends do a drop-in. That's tough. It does seem hypocritical.
I think it's the brother, though. I mean, because the boyfriend came after dinner, right?
Yeah, after dinner. It just came
so that
as a
makes
surprise. So
me
it
think,
seemed like maybe he feels like he's playing by the rules this way. Or
yeah, because like what festivities do you have at Thanksgiving after dinner? That, I mean, we don't know the whole family story here, but feels like it's fair game once dinner's over.
I like the mental image of the two.
I can picture them.
The four skanky kids like going in and out, vaping outside and coming in and like canoodling all over each other, and the rest of the family's just like, oh god,
just not helping to, not offering to clean up, just feet up on the table.
Just a different set of guys every year. They're just there to pig out, not meet anybody. No one wants to meet them because they know they ain't going to be there next year.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of, we should look at the replies here. All gas, no, hang on a second here. Let me get I'll just use that. All gas, no breakfast says daughter who let the boyfriend over for sure.
Yeah, you can't now.
Rule's a rule.
It is. Aiden makes a good point, though. It was after the Thanksgiving dinner that the drop by happened, so that's probably a strategic move on her part, but it still does put the host in a tough spot when he said, "We're going to have a boyfriend-free Thanksgiving day or night."
Yeah,
she's trying to skirt that rule, but then the other daughters are like, "Huh? What? Well, that's not fair."
Yeah, the brother's pretty. I think I would vote for the brother here. I mean, oh, Thanksgiving week, all of these bridges to cross, family to negotiate. It's a juggling act for a week. That's your more, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, nicely done, Andy. The passions are coming in on that. We'll continue to consider, but right now let's have a game of Throwdowns presented by Heartland Tire and Auto.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
I love that game. It's always good.
Invite the vapors over after dinner, too.
Yeah, you just have to have a vape hour or something, I guess.
Oh,
all right,
fine. Let your vaping boyfriends come over, too.
Aiden is in for AD, maybe. I don't know. We don't know if
he might never come back.
We don't know if AD's ever coming back.
All right. First question. Is this Caleb Johnson's last game as a Hawkeye, Keith?
I'll say it's not. I think he will play in the bowl game. I don't think he'll play another season, but he will have a big decision to make about that bowl game because you're probably a month closer to the combine and the NFL draft and all of that. There will be people in his ear telling him there's really nothing to gain by playing in the bowl. But Iowa tends to have that culture where very few players opt out of the bowl game. So I'm going to say he plays a bowl game.
I'm going to say this is his last game. This bowl game is not going to mean anything. I don't think anybody's going to want to go to this game. I mean, it's really, this is a new level down. I would tell him not to play in the bowl game. This is an important game this week. He just had a good game. He's got the touchdown record. Mm-hmm. And, I think college scouts after this next week will have seen, or the NFL scouts will have seen everything that they need to see from him. And he can only hurt himself by playing in the bowl game.
You may be right there. I think try to keep an open mind. And sometimes I hear something that makes me feel like you're probably right. I'll stick with what I said, but I think we're going to learn that the collapse we're already expecting for bowl game interest outside the college football playoff is going to be even less than we think. And we think we know it cratered. It's been cratering for years. Last year I was at the Citrus
You
Bowl.
think the collapse will be less or the interest will be less than
interest will be far less.
Yeah.
I think
the collapse
it's going to
will be greater.
Yeah, I think the collapse will be greater. I think the interest is going to be even less than we're projecting. And we're projecting a big spike down. I mean, the Citrus Bowl, I couldn't believe how far that had fallen. And that was before the 12-team college football playoff. So I do have to allow for that, even with Iowa's culture. We might start to see so many opt-outs, including those who are going into the transfer portal across college football, that may help speed up the end of these now only television shows, the bowls that no one really cares about.
Andy, what result? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, Aiden, go ahead.
Iowa State heading to Maui tonight and this week. What results would you accept for Iowa State in Maui?
I would accept a close loss for sure.
I'm thinking tournament wide, 1-2, 2-1, 3-0.
I mean, I would accept a 1-loss run where that loss is close. I mean, this should be one of the best teams in the country. We have not seen Iowa State playing in a meaningful game yet, so we don't really know what this is going to look like. But they have a bunch of returning players. They have a great coach who knows these players, and they have a bunch of new guys that appear to fit like square pegs in a square hole into this team. So it looks to me right now at this point like this team should be one of the best teams in the country, but it's still early in the season, and Auburn is a really good team also. So if they were to lose that game, I don't think I could fault them at this point this year, the season.
I think I'll accept anything because I'm just glad to see Iowa State play. Has any team in America played fewer games than the Cyclones to this point? And to play a meaningful game against a good team, that's what I'm excited to see. Iowa State has played some of the worst teams in the country in the limited action they've had. So can't wait for this Auburn game. If they do lose that game as they're projected to do, although I wouldn't say that's a given by any means, then the schedule's probably going to get a lot less interesting, but I just want to see them play Auburn.
Last one. Obviously, I was out in Vegas. Don't drink, don't gamble. But my favorite game in Vegas at the D is the Sigma Derby. Are you guys familiar with this?
No, and what's the D? Because I think it's something different.
The D is the resort. That's where
okay.
Bar Canada is. That's where we spent most of our time this weekend.
Okay, that's the D.
Yep. So the Sigma Derby, it's this machine that has little plastic horses that run around the track.
Yes.
The last Sigma Derby machine in the world, the original, they have like newer versions of it, but the original is at the D. And so you bet quarters and you bet on combinations. So I think there were 5 horses. You bet like 1-5, 2-4, 3-4, whatever. You bet on quarters. I bet me and my brother spent 3+ hours there just going over and over with quarters. Best game in Vegas. What's your guys' go-to in Vegas?
I don't think it matters what our go-to in Vegas is at this point, Aiden. I think what matters is that we point out to you that you do gamble. That you might even have a problem.
It wasn't my money.
Started off that whole thing.
Wasn't my money.
Don't drink, don't gamble.
You
I was just along for the ride.
If it's not your money,
you're just standing there.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I honestly do like to do that. I like to watch other people gamble, or I like to watch them play blackjack or craps or something. I don't know, not poker, but I enjoy watching. I don't do it. Watching other people bet on sports is the most boring thing in the world. But
it is.
Watching the table games is kind of fun. I do get a kick out of that.
I like to play blackjack, but I need someone with me who's really good at it so that I don't make a stupid move that angers the table. That's always uncomfortable for me, but I do enjoy
somebody else's card.
Blackjack, yeah. All right, thank you, Aiden. Nice job with throwdowns. Grimaldi's fan photos, a reminder, $50 gift card given out each Friday to a lucky winner who has sent in a photo, a fan photo. Could be family, friends, you name it. Could be a solo shot. You send it to Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com, and then each Friday we pick a winning entry for a $50 gift card to Grimaldi's in West Des Moines or at the location in Ankeny, which is in Prairie Trail. Time for the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. Andrew's not here. He's missing, but this is sponsored by Game Day Men's Health. Apparently the tee shots are working because as far as we know, AD hasn't slept, texted, called, emailed, anything. He might not have, I don't know, he may not be coming back. I don't know if they have Game Day in Nevada, but I hope for his sake they do. What do you have for us, Aiden?
I'm going back to Iowa State Drake, going with my guy Noah Wolf on the call of Audie Crooks' last shot.
Crooks, handoff with Emily Ryan. 7 seconds. Ryan finds Brown up top. Brown, 5 seconds underneath to Crooks. 3 seconds. Crooks gets to the basket. Bags and scores! Bags and scores! Audie Crooks wins it for Iowa State!
You could see that coming, too.
Tough assignment there. Whew, man.
Yeah. Is that Anna Miller that was trying to guard her? Before this happened, John Sears just turns to me and he goes, yeah, Drake can't stop this. They're going to just throw it down to Audie Crooks down there by the basket.
Why would you overthink it?
Yeah, they didn't overthink it. They shouldn't have. Quickie poll results presented by WCI Pools and Spas. This about the tiebreaker chaos that is so confusing that even the conferences don't seem to be able to figure out who would win under some circumstances.
Oh, this is a good one here. What is the best answer for fixing college football conference tiebreaker confusion? It looks like we got close to a two-way tie, but the leader right now is flex scheduling at 28% of the vote. 27% say more conference games would solve it. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't read. The number one answer is divisions. I guess
Back to divisions.
I can't read this black screen. Yeah. Don't we usually do the white? He's got it. Aiden's
I'm a
got
dark
it on
mode
night.
guy.
Aiden's gotten
I'm a
on
dark mode
night
guy.
mode. He was doing this in bed
It's in
last night.
Iowa State black.
Aiden does his own thing. He
All right.
goes his own
Divisions is number one. 32% or 33% say divisions.
Divisions. Back to divisions.
Yeah. All right.
It is the most logical way, but you have to find a way to make them more balanced if
They're
you
just
go that
huge.
way. Oh, goodness. All right. Thank you, Aiden. Nice job filling in for AD. Aiden, I guess we'll see you Wednesday. I'm just assuming at this point.
I'm going to move some stuff around. I might just go full-time with you guys.
Yeah,
We'll see what
just
happens
keep you on
with AD.
retainer, I think, for a while until we know
that's
that
fine.
Andrew's safe.
Appreciate it. Don't wear that rope hat again, please. Thank you for being part of Murph and Andy. It's local sponsors supporting local media here on Iowa Everywhere. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your Iowa Everywhere podcast. Don't forget the merch store. It's open right now, presented by AKC Marketing and Iowa Everywhere. IowaEverywhere.com. Just click on the merch store at the top. As long as you order before December 6th, anywhere in the United States, it will be delivered to you in time for Christmas. So we've had a lot of orders already, and we appreciate that. We're back Wednesday. We hope you are too.